There was some crypto controversy. I can't remember what it was, but I saw two accounts getting into an argument, and one of them was like an NFT PFP, and the other person they're arguing with just wrote to him is like, "Hey, it looks like you've been
post
in crypto
hog
for a long time." Yeah, it's like. It looks like you've caught at least 10 cycles of crypto and are such a loser that you didn't make enough money on a single one of those bets that you're still fighting with people on Twitter. And I'm just like, dying. Like, dude, imagine being in crypto for a decade and not making money on one of these pumps.
Yo, that's
torture.
wild.
No,
Honestly, like
right?
a form of torture. Incredible.
Yeah. It was like, but actually, Jack, can you tell us, there must be, think about all the dumbest people you ever met that are worth $10 million because they caught, this is not even shade. I'm being straight. It's like.
No, you have to be. I mean, let's be honest. You have to be dumb to ride something like that up.
It's a feature
Yo,
trunk.
that's
It's not
such a
a
great
horseshoe.
point.
It's a feature.
Same horseshoe.
Welcome to another episode of Not Investment Advice. You got Jack Butcher, Bilal Zaidi Trung Phan. You can see I couldn't even start the intro without laughing in a painful way. Trung, sorry mate that you're going through this still, but it looks funny for people only on audio. Trung is laying on his sofa still. How's it going, mate? You feeling old yet? What's going on? Oh, I think you're on mute. You're on mute.
Do not take your lower back health for granted, people. You can survive most other ambulatory injuries. Hand, just yank with the other one, okay? A foot.
Yo, what we can't quit the other one is
you
crazy.
You blow out your lower back, you can't do anything. Your wife is annoyed at you. That's the other thing. That's the funny part, right? Because you got responsibility around the house, right? Like emptying the dishes with a busted lower back is not fun. But if that doesn't get done, guess who's going to be up in your ear? Guess. You guessed it. Butcher knows. You know, there's a 50-50 housing split in the fan house. Well, it's more like 90-10, but in the kitchen area, it's like 50-50. If I ain't doing the garbage, doing the recycling, I'm going to hear about it. Lower back. So people, please, don't be a hero at the gym. Don't try to max.
Or at your kids' tug of war. What was it called? Tug of war.
Tug of war. Well,
I like that you tried saying, at the gym, just like you were deadlifting or something.
That was path dependent. I wouldn't have blown out my back doing tug of war if I didn't 20 years ago. Blow my back trying to be a hero on Max Day. After watching
I get you.
Ronnie Coleman.
Wear your belts, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, actually, Jack, here's the question.
I'm gonna be going to the next parents' evening with all his gear on, gloves.
Oh my god!
All right, let's tell the listeners what we got. This week.
Well, talking of corrections, we got Circle. Jack's got a correction on liquid glass. We're going to talk about right up front. Circle went public. We're going to talk about that and stable coins. Everyone in our audience probably knows about Circle already, but we're going to break it down. We think it's a good or bad business. And then let's see if we get to the other ones. We got Scale AI and Meta. That was a big one at the mid to end of last week after we recorded. Big move from Daddy Zuck over there, and we'll see if we get to this Kalshi. Did you guys watch the video from Kalshi?
Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to PJ Ace, friend of the pod, the VO3 Whisperer. He made that.
So for people who don't know, it was the first. It seems to be the first proper. AI video generated ad that went on TV that we saw anyway. So, so why don't we start? Jack, you want to talk about liquid glass real quick. What was the correction you said here? Want to keep it real
I just
here.
wanted to issue the other side of the argument because I'm reacting to the 5 screenshots that I saw. I didn't read any of the news, just slating it. And one interesting frame I saw on it is like the idea of this being a long-term approach to normalizing like layered computing in spatial environments. So like sort of setting the stage for the next iteration of an operating system that will happen in headsets and et cetera, et cetera. That's all I had to add to it. I just did not add that last week.
Okay, fair enough.
So if you frame it with that in mind, you can be a little bit more generous with your interpretation of it. It's like this forward thinking thing as opposed to a UI gimmick that means nothing at all.
Got you.
Whether or not that is the case, I don't know. I still haven't done enough research, but I need to be on record with the correction.
Jack, could I ask you something? Could you explain to listeners what skeuomorphism is? And I'm hearing that this is kind of the comeback of that in the expectation that we're going to live more in a digital world, metaversey type stuff.
Well, skeuomorphism, the word, I've used it in the context of like you copy a set of characteristics about something in one environment and like paste it over to another environment. So in the context of phone UI, that was always this like, it was basically a reference to the like lifted feel of buttons, you know, like in the first,
like the bookshelf looked like a bookshelf.
It's that, but it's also like they're trying to give it depth. Like they're trying to put these shadows and weight and light, and like they feel like they're taking visual reference from objects in the real world. And then everything went like hyper minimal and flat. And then it's, you know, full circle, horseshoe, whatever you want to call it, comes back around to like mimicking these textures that exist in the quote unquote real world. But the point I was trying to make with the liquid glass is like they're trying to, I suppose, like prime you for that kind of interaction or for that kind of operating system where there is more like depth. The Z axis goes back and back and back and back and back, right? You can like stack stuff and see through applications and icons. And that hasn't really been like outside of a few like skins and little treatments within a operating system, that's been like a visual treatment as opposed to like an unlock that changes how you can organize stuff spatially. And I think, you know, the most generous interpretation of it is that's the long-term goal. So you don't just ship a new device with this completely different mechanism for interacting. You prime people on 1 billion iPhones, and then maybe the next time you try and launch a device like that, it goes over more naturally.
It sounds like
the helium filter on there.
Yo, not good content, Trunk. What is he? Has he unplugged his mic? Go on, Trunk. Can't hear you yet. Go on, Trunk. What are you gonna say? No, he's back in the game.
It sounds like the stewards of a $3 trillion operation, despite everything we've made fun of. They can do UI. Yeah. We know that. Human computer interaction. The memes, though. I mean, I think Jack said it last week. No matter what happened, people are going to meme it, right? Like, no matter what they rolled out, it was going to get made fun of, and people are going to be annoyed.
Yeah. As is always the case. And there were some clangers in there, too. Like, I'm not retracting my statements about the, you know, the stuff that would have got me called into my supervisor's office in my corporate design days. These aren't compliant with the standards of contrast required. But
Jack, who was in your DMs after this? Let's be honest. Was someone in there, Apple, and someone from Apple, like, yo, you
know, this was before. Actually, you know, it was before the episode came out. I was like, oh, I better look more closely at that. And Jalil, a good friend of mine, close collaborator, gave me a new take on it too.
Well, fair Jack, play. This is why you said you even do this podcast. It forces you into you would have just let that go, buddy. You would have formed your uninformed opinion, and that's it. Like I do.
Can't have it, guys.
I cannot wait. So last thing we'll say until we talk about Circle, I cannot wait until the listeners 3 weeks from now get to hear me opine about the global energy industry, having spent 3 minutes looking at it on the fucking internet. And I'm teeing people up right now. I know there's going to be replies. It's like, this idiot has mucked up every single word in the industry. You know what? Whatever. I don't care. No facts.
Vibes, no facts, Tron. That's why we have the tagline.
No facts. No.
There we go.
Yeah. That's the one.
Talking of which, let's get going on stable coins because there's a lot of vibes here with this stock going on. Circle Internet Group. Is this the right one? Yeah, we go.
Yeah.
Been popping off. What is it up? Like several 100%? No.
Well, here, let's.
A week ago.
I mean, so Bilal, what is it at right now? Because I can tell you what it went public at.
It is 148 on Yahoo Finance.
It went public at like $30. So 5x.
That's wild. That's
Yeah,
crazy. What is
it
that, a week?
IPO'd. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like less than a week basically, or 2 weeks maybe. Dude, so Jack, can you explain, or Bilal, can you explain to the audience what a stable coin is? Because I think this is the nuts and bolts we got to get to. So can one of you explain the purpose of a stable coin?
Well, I think that like you have a different definition of it based on how the company that operates it is constructed. But in the case of Circle, it's a token that represents like a unit of value that's tied to an existing currency, right? In this case, USD. And Circle, the company, holds enough collateral to redeem all of the USD that they issue as
It's
stable
one for
coins.
one. That's the critical part.
Yes.
It's one for one.
Right.
But
But
Jack,
what that
what is
allows
the
to
crypto
happen is
portion?
that the stable coins can transact instantly on crypto networks, and there's no clearing time, with the exception of the couple of seconds it takes to move from one Ethereum address to another or L2 address to another. And the all of the fees that exist in payment processing are essentially zeroed out in operating a stablecoin business, right? And I think the vast majority of their holdings are like treasuries. So the business earns a massive amount of interest on that massive pile of capital that they maintain to back the token that they let move around the network. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
That's correct. Let me actually walk through how simple this business model is. So I'll give two shout outs. First is to, I know Bilal will say it, or Tanay always has the juiciest S1 breakdowns for upcoming IPOs. Tanay Substack, check
I
that
don't know
out.
if I've heard anyone say juiciest S1 breakdowns before, but yeah, no, he
You can
does a
use
good
some
job.
jokes in there, I'm not going to lie. But
Yeah,
all right, Arthur Hayes, who has no shortage of jokes, former head of Bitfinex, got into some problems with the US government, but obviously one of the most salient voices on the crypto industry. But yeah, Jack explained it, right? So let me walk through and you guys tell me what I get right and get wrong. This is my 50,000 foot level of the business model. There are trillions of dollars of transactions a day across the world, right? In just general commerce. The majority of that is run through filthy fiat banks, okay? Just like banks that are
Well,
just
payment processors before that, right?
Oh, yes, payment processors.
Oh,
Okay,
that's a
so
good point.
the Visas, Mastercards of the world, and then the banks that they're partnered with, right? And the amount of just fees that just get, everybody knows this, right? The fees
Middleman,
that just
yeah.
get piled atop.
Well, everybody doesn't know it, which is fascinating. It's like 2.5% of an average transaction
Yeah.
is going to a payment processor. The definition
Exactly.
of rent seeking. You couldn't think of a more middleman business if you tried.
Well, let me steel man the other side, right? Visa is actually a miracle if you think about it. If you travel abroad, you go anywhere, your visa works. You can conduct commerce, right? Like they deserve something for what they've
Yeah,
done.
but this like you're running into a moment in time now where technology exists to
Right.
provide essentially the same service for a lot less.
Visa
Yeah.
and MasterCard have a pure duopoly, like largely, right? Amex is obviously in there, but globally. And everybody recognizes this. They have literally the best business model, but up to Jack said, technology is changing that because you actually can rule a network like overnight essentially. Well, it took, I guess, 10 years with crypto, right? But I think this is gonna be great because we're gonna get real philosophical with this. And I know Jack and Blah have a lot of thoughts. But like, so yeah, all these, like Jack said, payment processors, banks. Now enter stable coins. It's the simplest way. How do you undercut the competition? You get rid of the fees, right? That's it. These fees cost zero. This is the best example. Blah, I know you are well aware of this because you have friends and family living in South Asia. Blah, what does it cost to remit money?
Oh man.
What is it?
Oh,
Like
it's like
Western
even
Union.
more.
It's
Yeah,
insane,
Western
right?
Union's crazy. Yeah.
Western Union might charge you $10 on $100 transaction, right?
Yeah, crazy.
10% to send $100 from the UK to Pakistan. Same with Vietnam. We try to send 1,000 or the Philippines. Like for example,
Man, I think to the UK is the same.
yeah, exactly. No, but
Like
it's
it's
like
anywhere.
well, I'll give you an example. Here's a very salient example. My wife tries to send money to her family in the Philippines, right? And these fees are so insane that the way they've set it up is they set up branches it's called mirror transactions. So you have a branch in Canada and a branch in the Philippines. The way you avoid fees is everything is transaction locally, and you just keep a ledger. So nothing actually has to go. You see what I'm saying? It's like we give them $100 here. In the other side in Manila, they'll give $97 to the family, and they'll just keep three. Right? It doesn't even cross. It's like that. Like that's the type of stuff you do to try to avoid these fees. And then obviously crypto. This is one of the clearest use cases. Is get rid of these fees, do it on these crypto rails that has the network effects. And here's where it gets. Here's a second part of the business.
24/7, almost instant.
Exactly.
Still some fees, but normally
everything's
less.
better, right? It's 24/7, faster, no fees. Granted, you need some AML, anti-money laundering, know your customer. That's a no-brainer, and that's what banks make the argument about. So that's the business model, the undercut. Now, the other part of the business model, how they make money. Jack had alluded to it. Circle, they call it assets under custody. So AUC is the key metric here in the stablecoin business. Tether is number one, right? I think Tether has 150 billion assets under custody. We can talk about whether Tether, there's a lot of controversy whether or not they're backed one-to-one, which could cause problems if it's not. But let's put that aside. Arthur Hayes' article on this, just literally Google Arthur Hayes Substack, he breaks down how Tether took over the industry. And essentially what happened was Tether had partnered up with the Chinese exchanges around the time called the mid-2010s when China aggressively devalued the yuan. So obviously China has the CCP has a tight grip on its economy, and it will, it devalues a yuan if it feels it needs to for strategic purposes. So when that happened, a lot of people within China, a lot of rich people were like, shit, we got to get money out of China. Ostensibly, you're capped at $50,000 a year per citizen to get money out of China. Trust me, there are many ways. Like I'm looking at Vancouver real estate right now. There are many ways to get a lot more than 50 grand outside the country. Crypto and stable coins became a very important way to do that. Tether found distribution with the Chinese brokerages. And this is where Circle comes into play. America, as we've talked about on this podcast for the past decade, has been very crypto skeptical, I guess, until the last 6 months, right? Very crypto skeptical. And I'd like for you guys to talk about the genius legislation that's coming out. It's about stable coins in the United States. But, okay, let me ask you guys, who in America, realizing the skeptical stance, has taken the long road to building a crypto business in America? What's the name of that company?
What do you mean? Say that a bit. Say that again.
In America, who's had a very skeptical stance on crypto, it forced one company to take a very long view of the crypto regulation. Who is that? Who took the long view on American crypto regulation? Say it again. Yeah, Jack, unmute yourself.
You say Coinbase?
Yeah, Coinbase.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they
you
took
phrased
the
the way you phrased
the way you
was,
phrased it, I thought it was going to be some fiat. I was thinking, are you talking about Donald Trump's companies? Are we talking about
but this
Amazon
is actually
or
good
Stripe?
that we're having this conversation. It's like,
of course.
They took the long view, right?
Most people use USDC specifically on Coinbase. So yeah,
exactly. So USDC is the Circle product. So why was Tether unable to break into the United States market? Because it can never get in with a U.S. bank, right?
Because of regulation.
Yes, exactly.
They haven't had as many checks to prove that they actually have one-to-one, like you said, dollar.
However, though, that means they've
dollars.
dominated in China and the global south. So Tether, I believe something like, I think more than 50% of Nigeria's international commerce now takes place on Tether. I want you to think about that. This country of 250 million people, and they're using Tether primarily. There's nothing that the Nigerian government can do to stop this, right? It's like it's total bottoms up. So Tether, for the things that Bilal just said, maybe it wasn't as tight on its reserves, maybe cared less about AML, cared less about KYC. It's taken over in China, very important market for crypto because of the capital controls there, and then the global south. So Latin America, countries like Argentina that have huge monetary problems, Africa, emerging markets without a great financial system. America obviously is the crown jewel of any financial company. But as you guys noted, USDC, which is the Circle product. This is the Circle USDC is runs the Circle. Circle runs the USDC stablecoin. Now here comes the other part of the business, and I'll pass over to you guys here. The other part of the business is distribution. How do you get a network like this to come up overnight? So Arthur Hayes basically says there's 3 ways to make it happen. Traditional banks, which already have all the customers, crypto brokerages, which have customers working on crypto rails, or social networks. All right? What did Facebook try to do in 2019, guys? Do you remember what they tried to do?
Libra.
Exactly.
Also, I would add fourth note, like if you think of like Amazon is talking about doing a stablecoin,
right? E-commerce, like large.
That would be like marketplace or something.
Yeah,
like that.
marketplace.
Shopify, I think Toby tweeted yesterday that they're rolling it out.
Oh, Shopify.
All right, so we'll say 4.
Sense.
Yeah, 4. The fourth one being e-commerce platform operators. So similar to like brokerages, essentially, you have networks involved. So the thing I'd pass over.
What would you put real quick, Trung? What would you guys say Stripe is? Because that's almost closer to a bank, even though it's not. But it's like it's a payment processor. But they could almost be their own category.
They just acquired a stablecoin business, right?
Yeah.
Well, who did they acquire?
Privy, Privy. I'd forget the name of that. Privy is an authenticator, like a crypto authentication service.
And they acquired another company for $1 billion prior to that, a stablecoin operator. But again,
because they could really win big too. I was saying, like in terms of like you said, distribution. If the whole web is using Stripe, they could add a checkbox in their setup that accept
100%. And you guys have mentioned pre-chat that Walmart and who else? Walmart, Amazon are looking at making stable coins, and the people.
I guess this is the.
Go ahead, John.
Go on, just to finish your thought. I was just going to say the scramble for someone like Stripe is like you have to like try and outrun this, or you're going to get nerfed, right? Like
lose.
Well, you're going to get nerfed, and also you are in a position where strategically it's like the innovator's dilemma. Visa and MasterCard don't want to go all in on this because it's going to eat away all their fees. They're 60-70% gross margin business. And the existing banks, this is the other crucial thing. JP Morgan makes so much money off international fees, it could build tomorrow a stablecoin product. And they are talking about doing it. But that's directly competitive with their business right now. And Arthur Hayes brings up a great point. So he's like, okay, JP Morgan made $50 billion in profits, but it has 300,000 employees. A lot of this is just old school anti-money laundering, KYC, like make work, right? People checking boxes. And Tether, which we know this number, we talked about it previously. I think they did something like 13 billion in profit with 100 employees. So they're doing a quarter of JP Morgan's profits with under 1% of its employee base. Granted, they're doing only one business line, but they already have 150 billions of assets under custody. JP Morgan's has 2.5 trillions in deposits, right? It's just like you're understanding how good of a business model being a stablecoin operator is. And it's all because, as Jack had pointed out, the existing payment processors, old banking system are screwing people over, right? And as Bilal said, they aren't operating 24/7. It's not instant. It's like, it's such an obvious better product.
In my opinion, I think the word screwing over is maybe strong. I think it's just they were providing a service that is now being outrun by something a bit better.
Fair enough.
So,
but
also, I get what you're saying. You could say they would protect, there was
usurious.
protectionism, and they were trying to like slow things down through regulation and stuff like that too. So I do think it's a bit of both. But I will say, you said originally up front, Trung, that it's better in every single way. And obviously I'm someone who's supportive of this. But I will say there are obviously some risks as well, right? So like the big one, as you mentioned with USDT, Tether, is the fact that what we're talking about is like fiat backed, supposedly one-to-one stable coins. We don't have to go in all details, but there's other types like algorithmic ones like DAI, which was the original one. Obviously the one that we all know about with Anchor Protocol that went to zero because it was algorithmic and not backed by actual real fiat money. So and there's a few other versions, but for the purpose of this conversation, this is all about USD or fiat currency backed currencies.
Actually, yeah, Bilal, let me actually clarify, because you brought up a great point. It is narrowly better in the sense of the reason it needs to exist. But to your point, there's a lot of risks built into it also, right?
There's some exactly, yeah. And I guess the risk for US dollars fiat is that the backstop is the US government and the treasuries or whatever. So that's kind of why for a long time, like you said, going to all these different countries before stablecoins, a lot of them were holding dollars anyway, because where they could get access to it, which is a key part. Because like we've talked about on the show before, if you go to Argentina or you go to like even parts of Asia, it's quite hard to just get dollars. It used to be quite hard. Whereas now, if you've got a wallet app on your phone that I'm sure all of them are using, you just click a button and you're able to store your stuff in a stable coin. I didn't know that thing about Nigeria. That sounds wild. If it is,
if the number, I'll double check when you
But it sounds about right, because I know Africa, even before stablecoins and before crypto became really big, there was mobile payments. Like, was it M-Pesa? I think it was called.
Yeah, M-Pesa.
That was like a really big story for a long time. They kind of they leapfrog going from desktop straight to mobile. So it would make sense to do that. I will say, and maybe you're going to come to this, but the big risk for me is more like their monetization is beautiful in one way that is so simple. They just take people's US dollar fiat money and earn, whatever it is, 3-4% on it nowadays.
On the treasuries, yeah. The business model is so simple.
Yeah, simple. And it works right now. Obviously, if they're doing it, like I think Circle seems legit and they actually have been audited and all that sort of stuff. I think the risk is for their, like if I was buying the stock, which I'm not, you're right, but if I was buying the stock, I'd be looking at what's the risk. And to me, the big risk is they're so reliant on that interest rate as well, right?
Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about
they're going to earn 3-4%, but that could change in the future.
100%. This is not investment advice. Let me clarify the Nigeria. Sorry, the number is this. A third of its GDP is conducted with USD. Okay, so this is even crazier than international, okay? Damn. So this, insane, but to Bilal's point, again, I think you made up a great point. All the points you just made, because it sounds like I'm shilling Circle, which I'm not. Because I do, like the actual valuation looks like it's running quite past. I think it was a $40 billion market cap on 1.8 billion revenue. And like Bilal said, the revenue is 95% interest income from parking the money that people want the stable coins in treasuries. Simple business model, but exactly like Bilal said, it's directly linked to the interest rate environment. And then, so that's one huge risk as a business. Stable coins, the profitability will swing wildly based on whatever asset they are doing one-to-one against. So that's risk number one. There's two more risks. Second risk is this. We had talked about distribution. Circle had to use Coinbase to distribute their product. Coinbase obviously is two things about Coinbase. We talked about spent over a decade getting the correct regulations of the United States government, getting banking assets, because the kind of criticisms that we've had about Coinbase in the past from a purely crypto standpoint is basically centralizing what should be decentralized, right? Now it's just a bottleneck on for American users primarily. But so Circle is basically paying 50% of the revenue out to Coinbase as distribution. I mean, think about that. That's insane. That's like Google paying Apple $20 billion a year to get distribution in Safari, right? Clearly, it's worth it for Circle, because otherwise the business is, in Arthur Hayes saying, the business is dead otherwise, because you don't have that distribution. What are you going to do? You can't build a network overnight, right? And we didn't even finish off Meta's Libra thought. But the reason why Libra got snipped so quickly is it took about a week for every congressperson in America to realize, this is really bad for our banking lobbyists, right? It's like overnight, Meta could undercut every payment processor, every local bank. Doesn't even need the money because it's just a network on top of its existing $150 billion a year ad business, right? It's just even more lock-in for them. So Libra got completely kneecapped, and by the U.S. government. There's no question about it. Even though it was better on the fee side, it just is like, this is such a direct threat.
I think
at a
people
point,
also wouldn't have trusted necessarily with coming from Facebook. But you're right. Like the actual
kneecap,
like
right?
kneecap was really just like
that's literally a threat to the U.S. government
regulation-wise.
and the Fed. Is like this
Yeah.
is not acceptable. So so that was the other part about the business. The third part, Bilal, about Circle's weakness as a business is yeah, I mean the U.S. dollar things, like the whole thing could just get rugged, right? It's like the United States government could be like, it's like, yeah, that's it. It's like, and we're gonna allow other payment processors to do this. But yeah, Coinbase distribution deal is a big one, and the interest rate environment is the other big one. And none of this is investment advice. All I'll say is to read Arthur Hayes' Substack. He's basically saying that if you're bullish stablecoins or if you are short Circle, he's like, don't even try to short this because the mania is so crazy. People want stablecoins, but he's basically saying do not buy into any other stablecoin issuer because they won't have the network built in. Like if somebody's being like, hey, I'm going to launch a stablecoin and like some traditional bank will help us, he's basically saying the traditional banks have no incentive to actually promote this product. And he's like, Circle got in with basically the only US compliant crypto brokerage. And that makes it. And then, Jack, I know you got a thought here. I can see your eyes moving. The last thing he's saying is Circle is right now 40% market cap of Coinbase, right? Circle's market cap is 40% of Coinbase's market cap, or maybe close to 50%, even though all it does is do this business that Coinbase already rips 50% of. Coinbase offers everything else on top of it. So he's like, if you're looking at that as a long short pair, he's like, just go long Coinbase. He's like, if you believe in stablecoin as a thesis, that's all I'm saying. Is like, that's what his part. None of this is investment advice, but we'll put that all out there. Jack, please opine on all of my stupidity.
That was great. I was going to just say the other narrative tailwind for this is all the political talk around this stuff. You said the Genius Act, but as you were talking even about the the economy, the activity in the Nigerian economy, a third of the economy is done in USD.
GDP, yeah.
When they talk about, and this is my rudimentary interpretation of this, when they talk about stablecoins as a vehicle for strengthening the USD, that's the idea, right? It's like the idea that as the adoption of stablecoins grows, the demand for US treasuries and US backed and issued assets grows. And the more global commerce is done in USD, the more value is held in companies like Circle. And what other currency issuer in the world has a higher degree of trust than the USD, despite the many criticisms? There isn't a close second, right? The idea that the USD and Bitcoin are competing in there's more of a competition there than there is between USD and like the second most notable like
the euro
government issued currency.
Right.
Like there will be orders of magnitude less demand for stable coins denominated in other currencies than there are USD. Like
this
even
is
you
such
see
a
it
great
like
point, man.
In the crypto economy, like everything is priced in USD for that reason. And the like product market fit of USDC is the on and off ramp, or the off ramp more likely, from crypto, right? Like what's the biggest money game in the world? It's crypto, and USDC has become the like way to get in and out of that game. And now it's like utility phase arriving. And even the idea that these merchants and these platforms that adopt it, it just makes the velocity of money goes insanely faster that way. Even on a Stripe, right? If you run a merchant now on Shopify, Stripe is paying you out every 24 hours at the highest frequency. Now it's like 10 seconds less. And I think you lose your appreciation for that past a certain economic threshold, right? But the idea that you can earn and spend money in real time, truly in real time, not wait a day, is like...
Oh, you mean it's like cleared already? Yeah, like Stripe is...
Yeah, like literally I say, hey,
yeah.
Bilal, I want to send you $1, and you have that custody of that dollar, and you can spend it instantly. That speeds up how many transactions gets done, how much value moves around.
Yeah.
And like the second and third order effects of the velocity of money going up by I don't know what percentage that is. What, 24 hours to 1 second is an insane amount of increase, relatively speaking. I don't think people can kind of wrap their head around that, myself included, what that means when that level of adoption is more broadly. And people will try and get in the way of this, and like technically the infrastructure for this exists right now. It's just clunky as hell, right? Setting up wallets, and it'll all be abstracted away, and everybody will want their fees for operating great front ends. And maybe that's, it's easy to argue why that is fair, but the friction, even of like, if you have a USDC balance, if you have custody of that USDC, you can move it anywhere, literally anywhere. Like you go in Coinbase and say, I send it to this address, I want it in this other, whether that's like under somebody else's custody or you want to take custody of it. It just increases the competition to provide a great service by a massive, massive amount. Whereas a bank is like, you even begin to think about closing a bank account, it's the biggest pain in the ass ever.
I
just had this happen
Jack
to me,
hates
actually.
banks.
I just had this happen to me. And this is actually, I'll give them credit because they run a great product, Mercury. They have a great, it's not a bank, right? It's a front end that interfaces
it's like a
with
neo
these
bank
banks.
or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. So whenever they do have a problem with a bank, it's a pain in my ass, right? It's like, oh, by the way, this vendor that we're using is no longer going to support accounts of this type, so we're going to move to another bank.
So bank wrapper, essentially, like the way...
Exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. But with stablecoins, a business like Mercury can exist without a bank in Iowa somewhere, or whoever is like prepared to partner with them because it's worth their time, right? So like the idea of USDC as a like sovereign money that you can take custody of enables all these business models that just make banks seem like completely moronic in existence and totally like stupid, right? I like whenever you do a traditional financial transaction, when you've spent time like in crypto most of the time, it's like eyeball scratchingly crazy. Like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, how many people there are involved in this? Why does it take this long? And it's like really not a sophisticated system that you're putting, like that's the even more frustrating thing. If the level of sophistication was so much greater, and once you're in, it's more fluid and worth it. It's like every single touch point is like somebody managing like a 30-year-old database somewhere. So I think
do you know what, Jack? Actually, have you used your UK bank recently? Because actually, I think UK, funnily enough, is one of the things where it is actually a bit better there.
They standardized a bunch of stuff in the EU as well, I think. Yeah.
And they've actually really upgraded the rails, whereas in the US, unfortunately, it's one of the things that is like actually way far behind the fact that I literally just set up yesterday a physical check that is being sent to my landlord, right? When I say that to friends from home, like at least that's not me actually writing anymore. Like I can just log into my bank and
it's actually an interesting contrast that it's like the technology scene and the discrepancy between.
And people I think forget, like specifically UK, I couldn't speak to. I don't know about the rest of Europe, but like UK actually one of the main industries obviously was banking and has been banking for a long time. So and because they're a little bit more nimble than here, they're able to actually they're actually able to upgrade a lot of the infrastructure better. And then one other thing I learned recently is, how in the US we get all these crazy, like sign up to the Amex Platinum and get like 50K points, all that stuff that we get here. If you speak to European people, it's so foreign because they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Like you're getting $500 equivalent to sign up for a card, like sign me up. And the reason is because they've got a law there in Europe which caps the percentage points that you can charge for credit cards. So it's something along the lines of 0.3% versus 3%. It's like 10 times more or something. And so that's why all the like point stuff that happens here, even on the airline level, Trung, this is probably a whole fun segment about basically airlines. Essentially all the value of an airline is in their frequent flyer program.
Wow.
Like the loyalty.
I'm very happy you
it's
brought
a loyalty.
this up.
Yeah.
Trung, do you see Trung?
It's a voucher. Airlines. Airlines are a voucher wrapper.
It's a wrapper, exactly. Yeah.
No, well, Bilal, the reason why I'm glad you brought it up is Chase Sapphire. Do you guys have the Chase Sapphire?
Yeah.
Wait, you do?
One of them,
Bilal?
I do. Yeah. I don't actually use it as much anymore, but I still have it from
they
before.
actually released a new Sapphire Reserve today. It's
Nice.
$800 a year. The
Jeez, I
annual
might have
fee.
to downgrade.
Bro. Yeah, bro.
I'm not even using it anymore.
No, Bilal,
Yeah.
they raised it 50%, the annual fee. Tons of extras, right? It's like a bundle of goodies. It's like, when you get when you used to get those mills and newspaper mills from McDonald's, where it's like, here, snip this out and you get $1 Egg McMuffin. It's like, but now you pay, I guess, I think it's $900 for this new Sapphire Reserve starting September. But
So stupid.
you know what we should do an episode on?
Jack's face is
Yeah,
so
you're
good.
disgusted. Jack,
Jack's like, oh, you get
I
lounge
hate
access
it,
to go
man.
and-
I hate
Yeah,
it.
know,
I,
can
hate it.
imagine.
Like people writing blogs about credit card points. It's like, where
Wait,
we
why?
strayed from.
Dude,
We
the game's the
strayed so
game.
far.
The game is the
Wait,
game.
we've strayed
Jack,
so-
until you
It's a
get to
waste.
the...
It's a waste of human divinity, guys.
we strayed so far. I
get what you're
have
saying, to be
buddies.
fair.
I'm not gonna shut up. Love 'em. I have multiple buddies who will spend 10 to 15 hours a week in spreadsheets working through their different cards, maximizing points. It's a game, right? But hold on.
What you call an optimizer money
Yeah.
type.
Yeah.
You've probably
Exactly.
heard that. Yeah, that's
The
a
last
way
thing I'll
Human
say is this.
type.
Let me throw this out there.
there. There's a few other types you could put in there, but yeah, go on, Tron, go
I'm
on.
gonna throw this out there, but you guys will appreciate this. So obviously Amex was the king of this higher end credit card, right? I think some crazy stat was like half of Delta's business was from Amex, like their profit. Delta Air,
Yeah,
something
they
crazy,
sell the
right?
miles to their credit
Yeah,
card. That's how it
something
works.
insane. So but the point I'm bringing up is this, and you guys will appreciate this. So when JP Morgan decided it was getting into this business, and well, Jack will love this word, so will Bilal, customer acquisition. They spent 300 to $500
Jack's
million
eyebrows, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
In
Sorry, guys.
Q4 2016, when they launched the Sapphire Reserve to try to get Amex's business, they spent up to $500 million in giving away rewards,
That's
just
the
to
move.
acquire customers. Literally.
Yeah.
And I mean, it worked out in the end because, I mean, I think in America, across the country, I saw some stat like the fee amount that people paid on credit cards isn't really going to make Jack sick. It was like $3 billion 5 years ago. People are now paying $7 billion a year just in annual fees, just to own credit, just to
will
have a
say-
credit card.
Crazy, man.
I will say, I'm
Crazy
pulling it
concept.
up as you've been speaking. A lot of like the 500, what is it currently before it changed? 400 a year?
I think it's
500?
450. It started at under 4, but now it's like
It's like,
7.
let's just call it 5. But like every year when you pay 300 goes in like travel credit. So it's like you use an Uber, you buy a flight, it automatically
Right.
gets refunded. So you're not actually paying full amount. And then this one now, it looks like they're giving you $500 of that in hotel credits. But then Jack's probably thinking, well, why don't you just spend the 500 on the hotel in the first place? Which is true. But yeah, no,
I mean, there's no free
yeah, go
lunch,
on.
right? Let's get Sailor in there, man. Like it's like an insurance policy. If you're gonna spend 20 hours a week in a spreadsheet, maybe you can get the value out of it. But then, what do you value your time at? If it's less than
Yeah.
like $5 an hour, maybe you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah.
It's so
No,
stupid.
I'll be honest, Jack. I have like honestly, I probably have like literally 1 million chase points, and I haven't been using them, and I haven't actually done much. Like I just signed up originally and just use it for my normal spending. But the reason is because I'm saving it for when I do like a bit like a honeymoon or something. I'll get one of these nerds who like that stuff, and I'll pay them to figure it out for me.
Well, apparently
But
there's
there is a lot
some
to
like
gain from it
real
when you get it.
arbitrage in like the quality of like
Definitely is,
flights,
yeah.
for example, right? Like you can get a
You could get
great
like
flight
a
for way
business or
less
first class
points
flight for
than
like
money.
5-10 times
Yeah.
less the price. So that is where, like, if I'm flying to Japan, it's like 15-16 hour flight, and I can get it for
In the
5 times
Emirates,
less.
one
Then
bedroom.
there you
Wow.
go. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Then it's maybe worth doing. But I agree. Like for now, I've just been. I'm kind of in the middle where I'm like, I've learned about it originally, and I was like, okay, all I've got to do is just spend money on this card that I'm going to do anyway. And then one day I'll kind of figure it out. But the problem is a lot of the time.
I'm just bitter, boys, that I definitely haven't got my money for it.
You sound like Fiat fan when we were talking about it early on, and then later, now he's the biggest Bitcoin bull
I'm
I've
just
ever
bitter
heard.
that my business model is way less efficient than
yeah.
American Express.
Yeah, fair.
Well, here,
enough.
let me do this, and actually let us pivot into something that I want to talk about, which is business Bilal's thing. I want to talk about WhatsApp rolling out ads. So pause. That'll be the next section. But this is my final thought on this whole segment we just did. I want to laugh about. I've never seen Jack more upset about anything than credit card points. I've never seen this guy
or
more
closing
upset.
down
It
a
must
bank.
be something else.
Well,
There
didn't
must
the
be something else.
HSBC thing? We don't want to get you sued by them, but there was something about that as well at one
Oh,
point.
Lloyd's
Similar
TSB,
thing.
man. I had to fly back to the UK to get like
I had to do
a
some
couple $100
Satanta or
out of my
something.
account. No, I did. I tell you the story. I tried to buy gold.
Oh,
This is
good.
HSBC's cost me an absolute filthy amount of money now. Because this is like 2018. I'm trying to buy gold.
Should have bought
2x.
GLD, mate.
Let me tell you about
2x.
this.
Bought GLD.
Tell us.
Physical
Well,
gold.
it's
you
2x,
wanted.
but my GBP would have been worth what? The purchasing power of my GBP
Oh,
would
yeah,
have gone down
yeah.
significantly against
Filthy
that.
fiat.
No, so I tried to buy some gold on the internet, my debit
Idiot.
card.
Is it delivered to your parents' house? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
Can you
exactly,
imagine
yeah.
bars of gold.
My phone starts ringing. Your account has been suspended. Blah blah blah. And then I call them up. They're like, "Sorry, sir, you got to come into the branch." I said, "I'm in Brooklyn right now. This is a long trip for me."
That's
I had,
insane.
they wouldn't let me unlock it, man. I had to go back there. So
That's why you
Terrible.
pivoted into the sovereign money, mate. There you go.
exactly.
Buy what you want with that, almost.
Wait,
kind
yeah,
of. Until you need to off ramp into the
Yeah.
fiat
In
world. and you need to
Coinbase
pay
and
your
yeah,
mortgage.
yeah.
At the well, no. All jokes aside, though, that would be the big unlock when you can actually pay for bills and like the general cost of stuff with USDC, which I'm sure will come. So if it's a regulated thing, that should be a thing. That will be.
I think it's like
big upgrade.
right on the edge of happening now. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like.
I'm
it.
just
No,
really
it's-
curious. We should try and keep track of it, but I'm just curious how like maybe it's just the same as how stuff has always worked. Like there's no need to charge a fee, but people just do it anyway. You know,
Or like
it's
brokerage,
not-
like brokerage
Obviously,
trading.
if their business is running at a 70% margin, they don't need to charge the fee that they're charging. They just do.
Dude, you could literally have you could replace half of Visa. I'm not even shade to Visa employees. You could replace half Visa's employees with monkeys, and it would still be as profitable. Like,
no
that's
shade.
just a
I like he said no shade to Visa employees, and then said half of them
Dude,
could
you
replace
could
them.
you could replace half of
Forget
Visa
AI
with
agents,
me
just literally.
and 03 no me
Fair
and
enough.
one monthly subscription to Claude, and Visa would not be impacted. I could do the exact same, literally the greatest business model ever. Literally the greatest, other than Google search. Google search ads, Bilal's former employer.
They
Speaking
got a
of
big
which,
risk too, though. But
Yeah.
actually, trying. I know you're going to pivot there to what's that. I do want to ask one last thing. Add to one last thing I said earlier about the risk of the interest rates going down. I will say, there's also the upside, which is a lot of people would think that interest rates will go up over time because they've been historically low for the last 15 years or 20 years or whatever. So if you were banking on that going up in the future, which lots of people do, well, like 70s, 80s, wasn't it like 17%? We had
yeah,
interest
when
rates or
Paul
something.
Volcker went ham.
Yeah,
We're
which
getting
I don't
bested though,
think
boys.
I don't think anyone can politically do that anymore. But like, if that was the case, then yeah, maybe this is an undervalued thing because they're going to be making even more in the future. And then the last
But
thing,
isn't
I was
it
gonna
also
say-
crazy?
Go on. Yeah.
I was gonna say is like if it gets anywhere close to like Zero era, the idiocy is going to be so off the chain
because we're
you
just
can't
like
even imagine
ready
it.
to rip it off. Exactly. Oh, it's going to be insane. I mean, I'm assuming that's what happens eventually because, like, you know, money printer goes
has
burr.
to happen. Yeah.
Dude, can you? No, hold on. I want to talk to this joke before we talk about one-time ads. Man, I hope we are doing this podcast long enough to get back down to ZERP. That's what we
my
deserve. You know
So
what I mean?
I have
course,
like a
course.
personal anecdote for this. Like I meet this guy at the weekend in real estate here, and we're just talking whatever about
You
what he
shit
does to
post
work,
on
whatever.
Twitter.
Yeah,
Jack, how are you
and
doing?
he get interest rates come up. He's like, you know, I'm not trying to be reckless, but if interest rates ever get that low again, I'm gonna go so insane. Like, and it's like, yeah, you and everybody
Oh, yeah.
else, man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
this
exactly.
is
We will be waiting for it.
The listeners, you have to see Jack's eyes. His
Lighten up.
eyes impersonating this guy when the guy
oh
said,
man.
I'm going to get insane. He looked like Cash Patel.
No, but that's the thing. It's one of guys. No, but it is one of those things where when you've gone through it a few times, like 2008, and then obviously COVID. Like there's enough of a cycle that you're like, okay, now I know. Like I've actually been
I would do this
storing
next time.
away.
I'll just sell the top next next time.
Yeah,
Don't worry
yeah,
about it.
like you did each time. There
No,
you go.
dude, I swear this is the last comment on this. You guys will love it. There was some crypto controversy. I can't remember what it was, but I saw two accounts getting into an argument, and one of them was like an NFT, PFP, and the other person they're arguing with just wrote to him is like, "Hey, it looks like you've been in
Post-hog.
crypto for a long time." Yeah, it's like. It looks like you've caught at least 10 cycles of crypto and are such a loser that you didn't make enough money on a single one of those bets that you're still fighting with people on Twitter. And I'm just like, dying. Like, dude, imagine being in crypto for a decade and not making money on one of these pumps.
Yo, that's
Torture,
wild.
No, but
honestly,
seriously,
like
right?
a form of torture. Incredible.
Yeah. It was like, but actually, Jack, can you tell? There must be. Think about all the the dumbest fucking people you ever met that are worth $10 million because they caught. This is not even shade. I'm being shade. It's like
No, you have to be. I mean, let's be honest. You have to be dumb to ride something like that up. A lot of
it's a feature
Yo,
trust.
that's
It's not
such a
a
great
horseshoe.
point.
It's the
It's a feature.
same horseshoe.
Yeah, because if
Yeah.
you're actually like doing any level of like analysis, you're like you can't really ride it out
Exactly.
like that most of the
You
time.
might do all right, but you're not like.
maybe that's we're
There
defining
has
smarts
never
wrong.
been. Okay, let's wrap it off with this. This would be a
Maybe
great
being
tweet.
Cole Palmer in the market
That's
is really
true.
what you need.
I need to workshop this tweet with you guys, but something along the lines of basically the crypto boom of the past 5 years was the only time the dumbest 10% of society made out with the most money. It's like there's never been anything like it, right? Has there ever been a situation where the dumbest 10% of society, and this
I mean,
is a
have you seen The
feature-
Big Short? I mean, there's a few
who
people
made
in
money
there
from
making.
that?
Well,
Michael
the
Burry did.
strippers who were doing but
Yeah.
I'm saying the people that had 15
Oh yeah,
houses.
you're right.
In
The
the
guy
short
that-
term, yeah.
The
Zero
mortgage
percent interest rate.
the
Like
mortgage
everyone was making money, right?
initiators.
So
The guy that said he didn't know who Warren Buffett was. Who's Warren Buffett?
oh yeah, yeah.
No, what's the
You
line
talking
from
about the
that
restaurant
tweet?
guy or somebody goes
You know, in the bar, when they go to the bar, the guy's like, "Look, I'm a yield guy.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a yield strippers."
There'll be more
Awful
crazy
credit.
ones in the future, boys. They'll
Yeah,
definitely
that's
be.
true.
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
definitely be crazier.
Dude,
Wealth
there was-
transfer.
Okay, let's.
All right, you want to talk about WhatsApp ads?
Man, I kind of
apparently.
just want to wrap up the entire episode. That was amazing,
No,
guys.
that was great chat.
Okay, this is Bilal. Business Bilal. Okay, put the
There we
business
go.
Bilal hat on. WhatsApp acquired by Facebook. Bilal put his hat on. 2014 for between 17 to 19 billion dollars. Famously, Jan Koum, the co-founder of WhatsApp, said, and Brian Acton, "We will never have ads.
Oh
We will
yeah,
never have video games.
till
We
you
will
sell
never
yourself.
do
Hot dog.
affiliate."
yeah.
They had it. They had a photo. There's a very famous photo. They had it pinned up in their office. But then, as soon as Zuck comes in and buys it, same deal with Instagram. Listen, to Zuck's credit, it took him a decade to put ads into WhatsApp. A decade. But Bilal, can you give us? So first of all, these are not ads within the chat and messages. I want to make that clear. There's a tab in WhatsApp called updates. It's like a status update thing. I've never touched it.
I think it's like a story equivalent or
Yeah,
something.
it's like
no?
an equivalent of stories. Whatever that is,
It's crazy. Everyone's got
people are
stories.
going to put ads there. WhatsApp is. They're going to keep ads out of the chat for now. My gut says that's not going to stay
For
that
now
way.
is the key word.
So
there, yeah.
Bilal Zaidi, with your business Bilal hat on, tell us what your initial thoughts are.
Oh, as a consumer or as someone
Both
for the
as
business?
a business analyst and then as a consumer.
Oh, okay. For me, obviously, I don't want any more ads in my feed. So yeah, I'd prefer not to have them. If they gave me an option to pay, well, first of all, I don't go into updates, so I don't actually care that much about it. If it was in my, feed where I'm like read everyone's messages or the group chats, then that would be quite intrusive and kind of annoying. But if I don't go into updates for right now, it doesn't make a difference to me personally. Now, the idea of it being monetized, like, is my personal data in WhatsApp now being monetized? Like, my answer to that is probably it's always been like, they won't say, the messages are encrypted, right? But like your phone number being related to another phone number is probably why they've spent that much money in the first place. Because I remember, I've mentioned it on the pod before, I remember going to a talk with Eric Schmidt when Google had offered, it seems to be have offered to buy a WhatsApp as well. I think reportedly for about 12 billion at the time. And everyone was like, that is crazy money. Why would you do that? And I remember him saying specifically to have 1 billion people's phone numbers and the connection between those people is valuable, right? Because if you extrapolate out what is going to happen with ads, most people who run ads aren't going to be like, oh, I need to like make ads specifically for WhatsApp. They're just going to have the same ad units because that's kind of how all the platforms have moved. They want you to target less. They want you to have broad targeting. So they say, just create one unit and we're going to reskin it for every different image, size, and everything like that. So for them, I would see it for Facebook, WhatsApp, they just get an extra billion people's, place where they're spending time. It's distribution again. So for them, they just add a bunch of inventory essentially. So as an actual advertiser, I would probably try it because normally lots of people opt out of targeting new stuff a lot of the time. And normally then maybe the CPMs and stuff might be a little bit cheaper. It's just like supply and demand. If there's more supply of eyeballs, essentially in this case, or more places to reach the same people, because those same people have an Instagram account and a Facebook account. And so you're essentially probably going to be like retargeting. A lot of the ads are going to be like retargeting ads or something like that. So I do think overall, as a user, I don't like more ads, but I can see why they're going to eventually do it.
Well, Bilal, you brought up 2 great points, which I'd like you to pull the thread on. So this first one is they'll probably have to, they're going to offer a subscription plan, which is so consistent. It sounds like they will, right? And this is like the YouTube playbook. Make the free YouTube such an ass experience. With the ads, yeah. So fucking annoying.
That you pay $10 a month.
Bro, they're testing now 30-second unskippable pre-roll ads.
Yeah, I saw you post that. That's annoying. Bro. I knew they had unskippable anyway, but not on auction.
Those are like the 5 to 10 second ones.
They're like bumper ads
so
or something.
Insane.
6 seconds.
But having said
Imagine
that,
before you send a message.
Yeah, 30-second unskippable.
but Bilal, you brought up such a great point. The network effect is so valuable that that's the number one thing preventing that probably. If you start doing what Jack said, which honestly, I'm not putting it past them, but that could be where you're like, okay, everyone, let's go to Signal. But we know how hard it is to move networks. Do you know how hard it'd be to get rid of some of these WhatsApp group chats I'm in? Some of these hysterical, like ones where you share memes are cancelable. Like if that shit got leaked, you would never get a job again in the history of mankind. That's the most powerful moat that WhatsApp has. They have you dead to rights in about half a dozen group chats that if that shit was revealed, your wife would divorce you and you'd get fired from your job. All right. So the other thing, Bilal, that I'm asking, the first thing you'd mention subscription, that feels like it's coming. But Bilal, you'd also mentioned on previous episodes about the other different business models that WhatsApp has. For example, they're massive in Southeast Asia and in South Asia as a truly business communication app.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Those, like in India,
when we talked about Kuwait.
Yeah, merchants pay Facebook a monthly fee to have like business chats where they can sell products. And people prefer
it. Like I remember being with one of our students we were teaching, and they said last night I was ordering a washing machine on WhatsApp. And I was like, what? I was like, what, is this like a Facebook marketplace or something like that? They're like, no, it's from the equivalent of, whoever sells washing machines. I haven't bought one here. But, like in the UK, Currys or whatever. And they're like, I'm negotiating with them, or they're telling me like, I'm sending a picture of the space I have and they're telling me it's going to fit there or not. And I'm like, this is just insane to me. But yeah, it's a really, really big thing apparently. And also voice notes in South America, or Spanish speaking markets, are randomly massive as well. So,
okay, I got that.
Go in WhatsApp, open the GIF tab and type in good morning.
Yeah. Where you did serious?
Are you doing it right now?
Yeah, I'm just saying like a massive amount of the activity on WhatsApp is just like total, like how many messages are sent on WhatsApp a day? Has that ever been published?
Oh,
has to be I know maybe I'm being aggressive here, but it has to be a bigger platform than YouTube, though. For like
it's bigger than
communication. I think it's the biggest. Yeah,
it's bigger than Instagram.
Huge.
Okay, here we go.
Bilal, you probably
100
did this.
billion messages are sent daily on WhatsApp.
Oh my god, dude! 100 billion messages
every day. Wow.
I don't even have a clue how to compare that to.
That's what I was
to
thinking as well.
YouTube, but it sounds insane.
It's a lot.
But
also, if you think outside the US, like it's the primary thing people use.
But weirdly, like in the meta ecosystem, like Instagram or whatever is like way more screen time. Even if you're like a top 1% consumer of WhatsApp, you go in, you do the thing, and you get
consuming
out.
Stuff.
Wait, but Jack,
it feels
actually,
like
let me actually disabuse you of that. Adam Mosseri, Instagram head of Instagram, said
CEO,
more people look at stories on WhatsApp than on Instagram.
That sounds off.
My model of the world is just wrong, boys.
I think that sounds like one of those weird numbers they've hacked. That can't be right.
Dude, that's Adam Mosseri, dude.
Wait,
that's
he
facts,
said
Bilal.
more people. That is
stories, just the stories. He's saying
on
stories.
WhatsApp? That can't be right. That sounds crazy.
Well, stories and reels, that's also like a weird distinction now, isn't it? Of like, the reel is like a new piece of media.
No, that feels off.
What are they counting as a story, right? Is it like a status update from your auntie?
Yeah, that's just in the corner,
that
at
counts.
the beach.
That counts, man.
But I was going to say,
Beans
screen time
toast.
wise, either way, they own both, right? So like they're going to be fine. I was going to add one point. I do think reputation wise, I think this hits them negatively more than the Instagram stuff. So for example, their ads on WhatsApp, I'm assuming, are going to be very similar to the same ads that you see everywhere on the Meta ecosystem in terms of what access they have, privacy, all that sort of stuff. Like they'll probably need to reiterate, we're not reading your messages, they're encrypted, you're not being targeted. Like you're not saying to your parents, oh, I need a pair of Adidas trainers, and then now you're seeing ads for Adidas trainers. Like they need to do that because otherwise people would be kind of shook, right? Now, even when they say it, people aren't going to believe them because how many people have you spoken to, including us? We might have even said ourselves, oh, I was talking about a washing machine and then I saw an ad for a washing machine. And like they must be listening to me on my phone. Like lots of people, like anytime I talk to a random stranger about like, what I do in ad stuff, they always say like the first reaction is always, oh yeah, I was thinking about this thing and then I saw an ad for it, or I said this thing and I thought they were listening to me. So there's already this perception of I'm being watched and listened to. And I think even if technically speaking, the setup is going to be exactly the same as, let's say, how they interpret or use your Instagram stories or Instagram DMs, because WhatsApp is so intimate, because it feels like text for people, I think there's going to be potential reputational damage for them if they're not really clear about that. Because people in general don't like ads. And if you're in a place where you're sending text messages, you're sending pictures of your kids to your family, right? Like in that space. So it's the most intimate. Like the test I always used to do, even like this is 15 years ago, when we'd be giving like a presentation to someone. And this is when the era of like trying to convince people mobile was important, right? So now obviously everyone knows. But you would say to everyone, like, pull out your phones right now and pass it to the person next to you and let them like go through your phone. And like obviously no one wants to do that. And the reason is because everything on your phone is so intimate and personal. And there's nothing more personal than probably WhatsApp or iMessage for a lot of people, right? So that I think it's a bit of a risk. ChatGPT now, yeah, and your Google search history, but more ChatGPT even more. I agree. So yeah, I think that is a little bit of a risk for them. But I haven't really followed like what their plans. Is it already launched? Trung, I haven't seen this launched. They're saying they're going to launch it.
I think they're going to start rolling it out. But again, it's just in the updates thing. I have no idea what that is.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, yeah, great. I guess we got only a few minutes. Do you want to pivot? Talking to Meta, let's talk about Meta and Scale AI. That was kind of a big acquisition. And Jack, I know you got a hard stop, so whenever you need to jump out.
All right, let's boogie this. We'll just wrap to this super quickly. So Meta acquired, it's an acqui-hire. We talked about this in the past 2 years. Antitrust around the big tech companies. They haven't been able to just buy companies outright. Or they've tried, and they have. Microsoft bought Activision, $69 billion. That got through. But antitrust environment around big tech and AI. So the big one was Google acquiring Character AI for $2 billion is an acqui-hire. They brought back one of their Google researchers. The existing company is just a shell. Most of the talent left. Scale's an interesting story because So Skill AI, shout out to Alexander Wang, who founded it, I think when he's 17 years old, dropped out of MIT.
He's only 28 now, so
Yeah, he's only 28
I think
now.
he's the world's youngest self-made in air quotes
He's
billionaire.
the youngest self-made billionaire at 24. Definitely.
Who was the one before that, Drunk or Jack? Do you remember?
Who was it?
I'm assuming it was Sam Bankman-Fried, no?
Oh, SBF.
Yes.
No.
Not to put him in the same bucket.
No. Wang's younger, even younger than that.
Okay. No, but I'm saying he was kind of the poster child for like youngest billionaire for a while.
No, but I mean like, so
I'm not comparing
Wang
him. Obviously, he's completely different guy.
He built a very legit business in the sense people were paying a lot of money because there's a lot of arbitrage actually with labor in South Asia and Philippines. Basically, it's like they had them labeling images for autonomous driving vehicles. It's like that's basically
the joke is AI is just actually Indians, yeah.
Yeah, actually, anonymous Indians.
Anonymous Indians, right?
Joke.
Yeah,
but it's like literally they had but people knew that they're having human labelers those because a lot of these AI labs wanted the human input, right? So a big part of their business was like you'd take a photo of a road and you literally have people in Philippines labeling like, oh, here's a street lamp, here's a whatever stop sign, things like that nature. But they became one of the biggest labs for cleaning up data and having human input on data. But as a business, that's a kind of a commodity business. But it is, you needed a pipeline, and every major lab was paying Scale money. But Scale as
really
a business,
smart,
yeah, it's actually really smart, right? But Scale had a lot of because it had become a bit of a commodity type business, whereas other people could replicate it, they have competitors. They had to start doing other things. So I think in the last year or two, they started building their own models or like helping corporations build their own models. But essentially what this deal was, and I read about the kind of the negotiations with the information. So Zuck offered to invest $5 billion into Scale, which at the time I think was valued at about $15 billion. This was about 3 months ago. Alexander Wang wanted $20 billion. So pretty big delta there between the valuations. So Zuck ended up agreeing to a $15 billion deal for 49% of the company. 49% doesn't trigger the antitrust alarms, although I think a lot of people realize what's happening. So there's already some scuttlebutt that they might look into this deal, because effectively what happens is Alexander Wang will now go inside Meta and head what is now a super intelligence lab. So Meta will now be going after AGI as OpenAI is. And the larger story around this is clearly Meta's AI efforts are not going well. And they're going balls to the wall to recruit and kind of repivot its efforts around doing open source Llama. I mean, Bilal, you saw the article, right? I don't know. You'd mentioned it.
I just saw people were getting crazy offers to join this team. Right?
Up to $100 million offers, including equity over multiple years vesting.
100
million?
For like
AI researchers, right? There's literally like MBA money.
I mean, like obviously incentives and stuff.
Incentives, 4-year vesting, things of that nature. But like Alexander Wang is a huge get because he knows everyone in the industry, and they'd have him running this lab. And a lot of Alexander's job was more so just to be, kind of like a recruiter, vision setter. And he was on the Sean Ryan podcast recently, actually. I'd recommend people listen to that.
I heard him on Theo Von too. It was quite
how was
fun.
he on Theo Von?
It was all right. It's just kind of a funny combination. But obviously Theo knows nothing about it, the topic, and it's quite interesting.
Well, hit the pod network. But so I think that this story is interesting. The two larger themes is one, big tech going after acqui-hires. Number two is for Facebook to do a move of this size is like all's not well with their AI strategy. Oh, we just lost Jack, but anything else?
Oh yeah, he had to go. He had a hard stop. He has
no worries.
But yeah, we can finish off.
Any other thoughts on the acqui-hire?
No, I think it's smart. I mean, I think it shows the Llama hasn't really been posting good results, it seems like. Again, I'm not like technical enough to know.
Well, have you seen their feed? Have you heard about this?
No, what was it?
So they have a Discover feed where people like boomers would type their questions into Meta AI.
Oh, I did see this. Yeah,
It'd be
yeah,
like-
yeah.
it'd be
That's
like,
crazy.
Give me
They
a
didn't
prayer
realize
to
it was
make my
public.
day amazing. Yeah, didn't realize it was public.
But it was even worse ones, like my partner is doing this and like, you know, asking like imagine anyone's search history or something without realizing that it's being posted publicly. That's pretty crazy.
It's crazy, right? And anyways, yeah, they pulled that. But yeah, man, that's all on that topic. That's a good app, buddy. Let's wrap this up.
App.
And
glad you made it
and
through
we'll be
with
back next week.
the back. And yeah, like we said for everyone, thanks for posting all those AMA questions in Telegram. We've got through so many. We've got already, by the time Trung is out in July, we'll have at least 3 episodes of AMA. We may even get another one, but probably 3.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for posting all those. I will say it's good if you're able to comment on YouTube for these episodes. If it's about the episode, it's good for us to have it in one place. So just post it there for us, and we will see you guys next week.
Peace.
Cheers. Bye-bye.